Bandwidth for changelog is provided by Fastly. Learn more at fastly.com. We move fast and fix things here at changelog because of Rollbar. Check them out at rollbar.com. And we're hosted on Linode servers. Head to linode.com/changelog.
This episode is brought to you by Gauge. Gauge is a free and open source test automation tool by ThoughtWorks with a goal of taking the pain out of test automation for acceptance tests. To help with this, Gauge supports specifications in Markdown, which are easy to read and easy to write. Reusable specifications to simplify your code, which makes refactoring easier, and less code means less time maintaining your code. And finally, integration. Use Gauge with your favorite tools and IDEs in the ecosystem of your choice, like Selenium and Sahi Pro, CI and CD tools like GoCD, Jenkins, Travis, and IDE support for Visual Studio, VS Code, IntelliJ, and more. Head to gauge.org/JSParty to learn more and give it a try. Once again, gauge.org/JSParty.
Welcome to JS Party, a weekly celebration of JavaScript and the web. Tune in live on Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific at changelog.com/live. Join the community and Slack with us in real time during the show at changelog.com/community. Follow us on Twitter. We're at JSPartyFM. And now on to the show.
All right, friends, welcome back to JS Party. Hey, you know that we love music around here. We like those BMC beats. You know, we've been known to do bad rapping even. And we like music. We aren't good at music, but we enjoy it. We thought we'd bring on some folks who are actually good at music and JavaScript music. But first of all, let me introduce my co-host today, Suz Hinton. Suz, how you doing?
Hey, it's really good to be back. I've not been on JS Party for a while. I missed you all so much.
Missing you as well. And Suz, are you a musical person? Do you sing any songs? Do you play any instruments?
No, I played keyboard for a while when I was a kid, and I was good at that. And then I tried violin for 2 years and just never really progressed. So I definitely leave it to the experts these days.
Mm-hmm. As do I, besides my bad rapping. That's about all I do. I started off in I played clarinet in 5th grade, switched to percussion because I thought drums were cool. And then I just switched completely away and have not touched many instruments since then, except to break them or something. So not musical myself, but a huge appreciator of music, probably more so because I'm so bad at it. You can appreciate the skill involved. So today we have a couple of super special guests, 2/3 of a band called Nested Loops. And we're joined by Jan Monschke and Kahlil Lechelt. Guys, thanks for joining us on JS Party.
Hi.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Well, let's give a shout out to the silent party here, your silent member, Bo Notes on Twitter. And Bo couldn't be on the show today, but definitely a huge contributing part of the band.
Definitely. And we'll definitely talk about him.
We have to talk about him, yeah.
So for the loyal JS Party listeners, you'll probably remember that I mentioned Nested Loops off the cuff a couple weeks back on the show with Safia and team talking about documentation. I did a real life retweet of Kahlil, who had mentioned something funny on Twitter about documentation. I thought it was poignant and completely relevant to that conversation. And I mentioned, Kahlil, that you're in a band called Nested Loops. And I was just speaking off the cuff. I called it a reggae band, which was really silly to say that. I knew it was more of an electronic, like rap, like EDM with rap and JavaScript band. But the reason why I said reggae is because when you actually come in and do your rapping, you have kind of a reggae style or Jamaican, I don't know, accent to your rapping. Is that fair to say at least?
Yeah, definitely.
So did I offend you by calling you guys a reggae band?
No, not at all. I thought it was funny. Yeah. But yeah, it's really electronic music and kind of mixing hip hop, electronic music, and this Jamaican genre of music called dancehall, and kind of comes from reggae, but it is similar-ish maybe to reggae, but it has a very different pace. It's actually more like hip hop, I would say, than actually reggae.
Absolutely. So we can describe it all day. And one of the hardest things for me to do is describe genres of music, especially with so much immersion and blending that's happening. but we could also just play it since we're all here with our ears, right? So we have one of your tracks set up to go, and I'm supposed to say, DJ, lay it down. I can't remember what I was supposed to say. DJ, play that funky music, white boy. So go ahead, DJ. Let's hear some nested loops.
Hello. 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 We all okay? Yes? No? No? Okay.
I can just feel the excitement. Yeah.
We all okay? Yes? No? No? Okay.
I can just feel the excitement. Yeah.
I will return to JavaScript. What are you? I will return to JavaScript. What are you? I will return to JavaScript. What are you? I will return to JavaScript. What are you?
Why do you write modular code? Well, people got mad when I put it all in one file. Why do you write modular code? Well, people got mad when I put it all in one file.
People got JavaScript. People got mad. People got mad. People got JavaScript. People got mad. People got mad. JavaScript. People got JavaScript. People got mad.
So there's a little taste. If you want to hear more of this, we'll link up to their SoundCloud in the show notes. If it sounds familiar to you, it's potentially because you were at JSConf EU last year, where this was performed live on stage. Suz, you were there.
I was. I've actually seen Nested Loops perform live twice. And both times I've been both blown away by the music, the effects, like the fact that it's all run live, but also just seeing my friends and speakers I look up to being sampled in that way is so unexpected. I really think that is so much fun. It's the best opener to a conference that I've ever seen.
Hey,
Wow.
awesome.
High praise.
Very.
I think that it's the music by itself stands alone very well, but when you're immersed in things like projection mapping and CSS driven lights, and I realize that I'm spoiling part of this episode, but it's just so exciting.
Good job, guys. Well, I was not there, but I remember seeing this on YouTube and having like the extremist form of FOMO ever, thinking, "Oh, this is legit. This is like a concert. This is amazing," and hilarious at the same time to see all these, non sequiturs or these out of context, talks getting pulled into a song that A, actually sounds like good music, and then B, makes you laugh when you hear the content of the things. And the JSON payload is just hilarious. Like, what is in there? Because we've all thought that, like, okay, I got this JSON, but like now I have to go figure out what the crap is inside. Tell us about the start of that band, the start of Nested Loops. Did it come together for JSConf? Was this a band that pre-existed? Give us a little bit of you guys' background.
Well, this band started in, I think it was 2014. No, it was 2015. So I had a talk at JSConf 2014, which was like about web audio, and my master's thesis about like collaborative audio production in a browser. And I had this idea to like take this a step further, not just like produce music on like in your browser, but actually perform in your browser. And then the organizers of JSConf EU asked me to perform the next year because they already had musical performances to start the conference. And then, I came across Kahlil on Twitter. I'm not sure why I was following him. I think he was on another podcast actually. And he was tweeting about him being like a musician in his form, like in his pre-developer life. And then he shared a video, and I was just blown away by like his performance. Like he's a pretty good rapper, and I really like the style. So when JSConf asked me to put together like a performance, it was like, I have to talk to Kahlil about this, and that's kind of how it started.
Kahlil, how about from your perspective? Do you have a history? Were you in rap? Were you a musician previously? Were you in other bands? Tell us about yourself.
I mean, I've been in bands since high school. Like in the beginning, it was like rock bands or indie rock bands or grunge, and at some point I got into rapping. At the end of high school or whatever, I teamed up with some friends. We had this like a multicultural rap group, or we had German rap and French rap and Arabian rap, and it was kind of cool. We worked on an album for a couple of years, and then did some contests and won it, and that was really cool. And then we everybody just dispersed into different directions because people had to go study and stuff. I was one of the only ones that stuck with music a little bit as a hobby, and I went to go study. But then I really got into dancehall, and there was kind of like a dancehall reggae kind of hype going on in Germany, and everywhere there was. Like in every city, you had sound systems playing that kind of music, and it was like beginning of 2000s. It was really a big hype, and so I really got into that. I had a gig with my hip hop band back then, and there was this dancehall sound system that was playing after us, and really loved the music, and we linked up and stuff like that. So I really got deep into that music, and really that was kind of that I just gravitated to the energy of that music, and very strongly, and I still love it. And it's and I just wanted to do it. Like I saw these artists perform on stage on videos on YouTube and stuff like that, and I was like, yeah, this is kind of what I want to do. So I'm going to try to get into this. And then I just got into the language or accent, or whatever you want to call it, the patois, and then I got kind of serious about it. I recorded a demo. I sent it to labels, and there was actually a label in Germany that took me on, wanted to mentor me and manage me and stuff, and we did. And then it was like after my studies, I was just doing that for like 4 years. It was I was living in Leipzig, where that label was, in Leipzig, in Germany, and I was really stoked to be with that label because they were back in the day, they were the only German kind of label that was releasing really good music in that genre. At least that was my opinion at the time, and I was really stoked to start to work with them. And then I started working with them, and we did a lot of we recorded a lot of singles and released a lot of stuff on digitally, and I was touring in Europe a lot during those 4 years, and it went kind of well. I mean, it was pretty undergroundy, the whole scene, and it did okay. And one of the most exciting things was that there was a Japanese label that wanted to do an album with me, and we went to Japan for a week to promote it and stuff like that. And that was really cool. Did a little, hanging out in Tokyo for a week. That was really awesome. And so that was just part of my life or it was my life for a long time. And then I just made the decision to go back into development after a while because it didn't really work out financially for me. And also the team that I was surrounded by was not a really good fit in the end. And like development was always a passion of mine too, and it was fun to get back into that as well. And so but I also, I met my now wife and stuff like that. I needed some stability, and so I started working as a developer again, and then that became my main life. But I was always doing music somehow in the background. I'm always doing music somehow, a little bit here or there. And then this happened where Jan was like, he saw, for some reason, I felt like tweeting out this video because because on Twitter, people know me as this JavaScript developer and nobody knows me from back then. So I tweeted out that video, which is like this video we made in Japan, where just in the streets, kind of, I was performing that song that was from that album, and just to kind of shock people or something like that. And just to have fun. And then Jan responded to that, and that was kind of how it came together. And he was like, do you want to do this performance with me? And I said, yeah, sure, let's figure something out. And that's basically how it started. And so Jan would be like the technical part. I would be the kind of rapping part. And there was somebody else who was supposed to be the music part. So somebody who produces the music. And we had no idea what we're actually going to do back then. Like, it was just like, hey, Jan does all the stuff in the browser and make sure that JavaScript takes care of playing the music at least, right? And or you can manipulate the music or something like that. And there was the vague idea, and then there was this other guy who was into producing, and he was like, and I was, like I said, the rapper, and we were then brainstorming in a Slack channel, and we're trying to come up with a musical style that we could all agree upon. And I think that the styles that me and Jan wanted to do weren't a good fit for our then third person. Is that fair, Jan?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there was like band problems before we actually started.
Gotta have band problems, right?
We had to split up before.
It's a must-have.
Yeah. So that didn't work out. But so my brother Boris, who is Bow Notes on Twitter, he is a really great producer. I mean, in my opinion, he makes great electronic music, and he's been doing it for many, many years too. And he had just all these, really cool beats lying around on his computer. So I was like, hey, let's just bring in Boris, because we didn't really have tons of time left. We had like a couple of months, and or 3 months or something like that, and we had nothing. And so we needed to figure something out. And producing, and we had kind of, at least I had really kind of a high, what do you call? I only know the German word. I just wanted high quality when it comes to the music.
Oh, having like high standards.
Yeah, when it comes to the quality of the music, I wanted to have something that I would really like. And so, but in order to have that quality, then you have to produce a track, and then you have to kind of, everybody has to agree on it and stuff like that. And producing something like that has the quality that we wanted takes a long time. And we only had these 2 or 3 months. So I suggested that we just get Boris on board and just review some of his beats that he has lying around. And so we did that, and luckily we found something that Jan also liked, and I liked, and Boris likes his music, of course, and Boris was on board. He was happy to help, and so he did some more production work on that, and I started to write some lyrics, and then Jan was working on playing the music, getting the music to play in the browser, as well as also video snippets. But Jan, I don't remember how that idea then came up. That was also still very vague, I think, that we wanted to take talks and then cut them up. And we didn't really know how we would do that. And yeah. Do you remember?
Well, yeah, so the idea, like the general idea also is, of course, not an original idea. So I was like, I saw this TED Talk by Mark Ronson, who's a pretty well-known music producer, and he had this talk about how sampling changed the music industry or something. And it was this amazing TED Talk where he remixed TED Talks in a TED Talk, and it was hilarious.
Oh wow!
Very well produced. It's pretty good. I still listen to it from time to time. Huh. And I kind of wanted to do the same. And the cool thing was Kahlil's tweet where he talked about his musician life came at the right time, because for a very long time it was just me having this idea and not knowing how to execute, because my musical background is rather shaky. And so finding musicians on Twitter that also liked JavaScript, I was like, what are the odds? So that had to happen. And yeah, I think it was this TED Talk that influenced this entire thing.
Yes, that's right. That's right. That was the original idea. So we thought, okay, we can take JavaScript talks from people that we admire, and then try to cut that together to something, like to a message of some sort or something like that. And then what we started to do is just download or look at all these, download all these talks that we thought were funny or interesting. Not funny, but mostly interesting.
Sure.
Some of them were also funny. and try to identify segments in those talks or little snippets that we could take out of context and then put together with other snippets in order to produce something that would be compelling in some way.
And how long did that process take? Like you had to sit and watch talks and take notes and do timestamps, I guess, and things like that. Like how long was that process given that you were starting to get close to the deadline?
I mean...
Yeah, so the deadline also was, as Kahlil said, 3 months away. So we didn't have that much time. So I think we met at your place in Stuttgart. Like the three of us, we had never met in person. And then we just downloaded all these videos and literally like for 2.5 days, watching videos, taking notes, and then kind of snipping it together or something like this.
Yeah.
I guess we still did more like on weekends after that.
Yeah,
but it was definitely dozens of talks we watched.
This episode is brought to you by our friends at Rollbar. Check them out at rollbar.com/changelog. Move fast and fix things like we do here at Changelog. Catch your errors before your users do with Rollbar. If you're not using Rollbar yet or you haven't tried it yet, they have a special offer for you. Go to rollbar.com/changelog. Sign up and integrate Rollbar to get $100 to donate to open source projects via Open Collective. Once again, rollbar.com/changelog.
And did JSConf, like, were the organizers aware of what the final sort of output was going to be, or were they sort of giving you any guidance, or was there sort of like complete silence and then you presented them with this thing?
Yes.
Well, we checked back every now and then, but just to make sure, just to feel out, is this okay? We want to do this, and basically they just said, yeah, go ahead, just do this, and we just did it. And
we never showed them the final thing, though. Like they were also not sure what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. We showed them, especially for the first time, we showed them the final thing, of course, and then because we would not like just show up and do something that they never saw before. That would be crazy. But we didn't really know until like almost the last day how it would actually come out. So what also came into that, so we did not only take the audio snippets, we also took the video snippets, and then those had to be also presented in some cool way, right? Because they come from different videos of different quality, and they should all kind of look cohesive and be branded in a JSConf kind of manner. And so Boris also came up with a way to put a filter on the videos and make them all look kind of pixelated, and then just do them have the talkers kind of be silhouettes and in kind of the JSConf colors. And then Jan figured out some hack to actually play those videos so that we can in the browser, so that we can trigger them on the beat live, and they just play without a lag. So that was also like a really hacky kind of thing that, Jan, maybe you want to talk about that.
So this is like the first time we did this. And so since it was a short deadline, we just had to make something work. So I'm very not proud of the software stack there. But so the problem is if you want to press a button on your computer or like a MIDI controller and then want to have your browser play a video and sound without much delay, because in music you don't have like several like you only have a couple of milliseconds to be like on point. We had to use very obscure hacks to get videos to play right on time, and it's like has to do with like you have to preload all the videos, transform them with like get their data URL, and then keep all these videos in memory, and then they would play okay. But that would like from like a 5-second video snippet that would generate 200 megabytes of RAM. So there was also like I think at some point I used 3 gigabytes of RAM with this like 20 buttons that we were supposed to press. And yeah, it was pretty much like put everything into RAM in a obscure way, and then it's fast enough.
And it all came together.
Yeah, it all came together. And how we ended up just playing around with the snippets on top of the beat at my place on one weekend when we were meeting all together. And that's when actually the kind of the story of how the snippets play off of each other came together. And it just was funny. We just tried to kind of talk about JavaScript and about its quirks, or let the speakers talk about JavaScript and its quirks and what JavaScript is or not is, in a funny way where these snippets are taken out of context and then because they play off of each other, then make you laugh. That's kind of the recipe that worked for us the best, and it was the easiest to come up with that and play around with that. Just take them completely out of context and see what happens, but also kind of pick up on subjects of the last year of JavaScript world. For instance, functional programming or React or, virtual DOM. Our first one, I think first track that we did for JSConf, it had a whole bunch of virtual DOM in the first iteration, just on top of the virtual DOM. And it sounded funny, and it was such a big topic. And so we were playing with actual, big topics and kind of these snippets out of context, and that was funny and it was fun.
Yeah, I especially like that we made Crockford say that he loves classes. That was amazing. I still have to there's a smirk on my face when I listen to that line.
So can you give us a few more technical details around the tools you used, and you've sort of alluded to having some challenges when it came to trying to drive this whole thing with JavaScript, but can you maybe just break down the pieces at a high level so we can sort of drill down on a deeper level for some of the other parts? So you have your MIDI, but then is that connected to JavaScript? And then you have your videos, and is that playing in a browser? And what kind of tools did you use that are standard for this sort of industry? And then where did you have to get creative when it came to JavaScript, such as having 3 gigs of RAM?
So there are 2 iterations of this software. Which one? There's the one that is a good piece of software that I did for the last 2 years, the last 2 performances, and then there's this obscure hack. But essentially it's this. You have a MIDI instrument and it has a bunch of buttons. So MIDI is just a standard of a messaging format that is used for mainly musical devices. So let's say I press a button on this thing that is connected to my computer, then the browser registers that through the Web MIDI API. So there's actually an API that lets you connect and talk with these big music MIDI controllers. So essentially what you do is you press a button, you get this message in your browser, and then you need to have some sort of system that knows, okay, if I press this button, then I play this video, and then it should do that with the least amount of delay as possible. That's kind of the basics. That's pretty much what was the first iteration. It was I press a button and then it does a thing. And then what becomes tricky is the MIDI thingy is very real time. So I press this button and it actually plays the video. But as we're all just humans and maybe not perfect in timing, usually music software has this thing built in where it kind of quantizes. I think the word is quantizing, but I think I shouldn't use this word. It's I press this button and the music software knows when I actually should play this. I'm actually a bit too early, so they will schedule it to be 12 milliseconds later to perfectly match the background beat that is playing. So the first iteration of the software didn't have that at all. And then in the second iteration, we built this whole thing around this that had a scheduler in it. It's okay, I know I'm at beat X bar Y, and then I know now I have to play this, what you just pressed. So there were some quirks or some glitches in the first performance that probably nobody who's not really listening to if there are quirks or glitches hears, but as a performer, you definitely hear these things. And so the second iteration had this whole scheduling built into it. And so, yeah, the first one was only a plain JavaScript HTML website. And it had a canvas element that was like, so let me go back 1 second. So the video had all the audio in it. And so you would play the video with your MIDI device. You would trigger that. And then there was a canvas that was connected to the web audio API, which is another set of API that would analyze the audio of the video and then would show like waveforms of like how, like as visualization, like what are they talking about? And we would use that. And it would also use the web audio API to actually route the audio of that video to your external speakers and all that stuff. It was very bare bones. Does that make sense?
Yes, totally made sense.
Okay, cool,
I really like that you talked about the scheduler too. I've definitely written a sequencer before in JavaScript, and because I'm so bad at music, I just said whichever beat it's closest to, just schedule it for that next time.
Yeah, exactly.
And so there were other parts to this as well, right?
Yes. Yeah, for this one, not so much actually. Like the first iteration didn't really have that. So the creative process was Boris, the producer. He would tell me which samples he wanted to use, and then I would go to GitHub and then edit this and then send it back to him. Because I don't think we've mentioned this, but Boris is actually not a developer.
Yeah.
He is an architect. And
but not a software
architect. Yeah, that's
a question that everybody asked at JSConf.
Like he draws pictures of buildings, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So the way this worked was he would tell me the samples, and I would like implement this in this website, and then I had to like deploy this, and so there was like a huge round trip time for like getting this song together, and like it hindered him in his creative process a lot. So in the second iteration of the software, I built like an Electron app that had this software built in where you can like load all your samples in, and then you can kind of like define the setup of your MIDI controller in there. And then I want to press this button, and it's like a visual representation of your MIDI controller. You click on it, and then you like select, oh, this button should play this video, this audio, these effects, and all that stuff. So I built this software so that we could work much more efficiently on future songs. So I wouldn't have to deploy a new version of the website when he had an idea to implement a different part of the song. So there was like a much bigger production around this in the second iteration. So whenever there was a bug, he would just send me his zip file from this Electron app or like that like exported format that I came up with, and then I would debug this and send it back and all these things. That was really fun. My first Electron app.
That's a very cool collaboration.
Yeah, it's so cool that you can do that with JavaScript, that you can make a desktop app and just, implement something with drag and drop or upload those snippets in there and stuff like that. So he could really use it very easily. That was really awesome. It's actually a really good, like very cool piece of software. If you want to do this sort of thing, it's all on GitHub.
And did you say that you did it in Electron as well?
Yes.
That's so cool.
Electron is kind of like the host for all of this. It like connects to, like, it has like the web MIDI support. So it supports two kinds of controllers only. One is like a really cheap one that I have two of. And then there's like a really expensive one that I had to borrow. But Boris really likes. So it does that. And then it does all the scheduling and like the drag and drop of files, videos, audio, all that stuff, scheduling and effects, and also video effects. That's something that we added later on. So this whole thing has like a live mode. When you press tab, it goes into this live mode that is rendering all the videos with a WebGL shader enhanced representation of the snippet that you want to play. That was done by Martin, who is the permanent guest in the Nested Loops. Like he's like the visual part of this group. And so in the second iteration, this was built into the software as well. And because we already spoke MIDI, I added like a little thing just right before the second time we performed, and that was like a MIDI controller where you could control parameters of the WebGL experience. So I can like live change the size of the dots and like opacity and all that stuff. And so that's the big second iteration of that software.
So that's out there. People can use it. You can give us the GitHub link and we'll share it in the show notes. That's spectacular. I did not know that.
That is really cool.
It's all open source.
So I know that Martin's not here, but can you tell us a little bit about the fact that it wasn't just the music and the video, but there was a lot of other stuff going on, such as the lights in the actual room as well. Would they, I might be remembering this incorrectly, but were they controlled basically with a CSS like translation protocol?
Yes. So this is all Martin's work, so I'm not taking any credit here. So he had this idea, and like when Martin has an idea, that's always a good sign. And then he gets really obsessed with this, and he's like, so we have this amazing venue, and it has these lights, and like we can control these lights because all these lights in all venues, there's like they also have like a protocol that they all speak. It's like MIDI for these music instruments. They speak DMX, which is a similar kind of protocol. And he's like, well, I don't like programming DMX. So like he could control all these lights and rotations, color changes with JavaScript. But he's like, there has to be a descriptive way of doing this. So he built his own CSS light editor. Like it's like a superset of CSS that he can punch into this editor, and then he changes the lights in the venue. And that is pretty that blew my mind. That's like how, like you type some CSS and then all of a sudden this spotlight there is gray or white and then it turns blue. And he's like, yeah, I can do that. And then he also built in transitions. So if he was, or like animations. So of course CSS is animations. So of course his like light programming thingy also need to have animations. So he's like, okay, let me animate the rotation. And then all of a sudden all the lights in the venue are just spinning. And it's like all done in this CSS editor that he built. And it's like, what the is going on? Like, I was so blown away when he did that. I'm not sure if that's open source.
Oh, we should get him to open source it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
One more note. He also had like a second iteration of that. And that was he built like a 3D model of the actual venue. And then he pretty much built like sorry, Martin, if that's wrong, but there's something. He built a 3D model and then he could like trigger CSS classes on spotlights and that would like turn them on and off as well. So the way this was done was also like his own object model that had classes built in, and then depending if you add or remove classes, it would change the light in the venue.
Yeah, we also gave a talk at JSConf, not the last one, but the one before, where we kind of presented how we did it. And I think one of the best parts was definitely Martin describing his process and what he built. And it's definitely worth a look, and it's on YouTube. Put it in the show notes. He blew everybody's mind because when he shows his 3D model there, because he was basically like, he was just saying, I couldn't practice or couldn't rehearse at the venue because the venue is closed and I can only rehearse on the day, like a few hours before it starts. So I just created a 3D model or thing for my CSS lights. And so he did that with, some library. He used a bunch of libraries that he put together.
Yeah.
And 3JS, yeah, exactly. And because he also has a background in 3D stuff, I think. And so he did that and he showed that and it was just like, everybody was like, whoa. Huge applause. So cool.
I don't know about you, Suz, but all this makes me feel kind of like a worthless excuse for a developer over here. Like, man, I'm a non-contributing zero. Like, this stuff's amazing. What have I ever done?
There are just so many pieces that came together, and I just think that it's and on top of that, it's all JavaScript and open web technologies, and I think that just it's so many combinations of wonderful things that even just hearing you talk about it without actually being there, just you can imagine all the different pieces coming together. It's incredible.
This episode is brought to you by our friends over at .tech, a new top-level domain extension to consider when purchasing your next domain for your next big idea. .tech is a domain extension specifically intended for the tech community, and more often than not, I don't know about you, but when I search for a URL to consider for a big idea, the .com, the .net, and many others are already taken or they're quite costly to register. So with 1 year starting at $4.99 and 5 years starting at $24.99, when you use our special code changelog, they're super affordable to grab, snag, and use. Head to get.tech to get started. Once again, get.tech to get started and use our code changelog, or click through using the link in the show notes. And by our friends over at DigitalOcean. What we love most about DigitalOcean is one-click installs, deploys that are super easy. It doesn't really require you to know much about a server to get up and running. One-click installs for Node.js to an SSD cloud server in literally 55 seconds or even less. And the same experience you can have with a one-click install, you can have with pretty much anything you build out by taking a snapshot of your droplet. You can build out the best JavaScript app-friendly server and literally deploy it with no time at all. Manage your own stuff, run your own stuff, deploy to DigitalOcean, and make life easy for you. Head to do.co/changelog, pay less, deploy more, build better web apps with DigitalOcean, and a free $100 credit. Once again, do.co/changelog.
So we mentioned the visuals, amazing technical feats pulling this all together. Suz, I think we know why we said it actually sounds like legit music, because we have legitimate musicians putting this thing together. If you heard a little bit of the track, if you haven't watched the YouTube video, you have to see it in action, and we'll put that in the show notes as well. Guys, I want to kind of go big picture for a minute and talk about maybe an emerging trend of programming focused or based software development music, and if that's something that can actually become a sustainable, not a genre, because we know that you mix genres, but a growing trend. I was just reading through some of the YouTube comments on this video as we chat, and people are like legitimately excited about these songs. Somebody saying I need this on my Spotify, somebody console.logging awesome, lots of comments. Alerting this music is wonderful. Of course, all the nerds come out and we do our console logs and our alerts, but genuine praise, genuine enjoyment. I know that when this particular track first came out, it made me laugh, but then after a while, I just put it on loop and put it in the background while I was programming. Curious what your guys' thoughts are. I know you've done these 3 performances. Nested loops seems to kind of exist around and for JSConf. But is this something that could potentially become its own sort of mini movement, or maybe it is, and I just don't know about it?
Good question. So I'm not sure, because I only know of us and JS Live Network, which they also really their contribution last year for JSConf was also really amazing. They also combining visuals with music, and they just have way more gadgets than we do. Everything kind of driven by JavaScript. And I'm not really aware of any other like programmer bands. Have you seen any more around, or?
Well, in the pre-party, Jan mentioned that there's multiple JavaScript bands. So I was interested to hear about what that means.
Yeah, I don't think Kahlil remembers my other JavaScript band, because also we don't have
semicolons
anymore. So there's like the
semicolons,
the sibling band of JSConf. The sibling conference of JSConf was Reject.js, and there was the band, the house band was called the Rejects. So that was another one, but that is like more like these 2 bands were literally created for these. Oh my God, yeah, the semicolons. I completely forgot the name of my own band. Yeah, the Rejects was the song name and not the name of the band. Oh my God. Thanks, David in Slack.
So straighten us out. What was the name of the band and what's the name of the song?
The name of the band is the Semicolons, and the name of the song was called We Are the Rejects.
Okay.
But yeah, these are catered towards these two conferences. But I happen to be the organizer of the web audio conference, and in the web audio scene, there are many people that are actually live performing music with web technology. They don't necessarily refer to JavaScript in the lyrics or anything. It's like legit musicians. Like there's some people. There's Matt McCack who built like an awesome, like it's called Loop Drop. It's like a Electron-based music production environment, and he has been performing at festivals with that, with his Electron app. But he's also struggling with that because JavaScript and Electron, like they have all these quirks where they might just crash. Like the browser is not yet ready for like a live set of 1.5 hours of heavy music performance. But there are definitely people out there, and there's like people that do like live coding environments, and that is pretty cool. So I think JavaScript is ready for prime time in a sense, but I haven't seen major acts using it yet.
Well, I mean, in terms of, when you look at these things, I guess from maybe on a business level perspective, or maybe analytical, you look at communities growing or shrinking. And in terms of just like, your potential listener base as a JavaScript focused band or JavaScript based band or whatever it is, it's something that is growing leaps and bounds. I mean, the programmer community at large is growing leaps and bounds. And then JavaScript inside that, only Python is growing at a faster rate of adoption than JavaScript right now. And I think that's mostly due to a lot of the machine learning tooling around Python and other reasons, of course, but I think that's a major factor. So, I mean, it's a community that's getting bigger and bigger. And so you have people that are more and more interested to where, where you could make music that not just reaches them in a musical sense, but also intellectually tickles their, JavaScript or programmer nerd things that you're already doing. I think there's some potential there.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Now I see where you're getting at. Yeah.
I'm sure that there would be potential there. I mean, what kind of interferes with it is that everybody, of course, has their own kind of musical taste. So if that music does not, is not your thing, then that specific flavor of music is not your thing, then it's not gonna. So you can only reach a subset of those people.
True.
But yeah, it might be interesting. Like if one could do it on a regular basis, I think you have to have in order to kind of gain an audience that is going to be loyal or that really sticks with you, you need to have a lot of releases throughout the year. That's kind of how musicians nowadays do it, I think, especially up and coming musicians. So you would have to write a track every month or something like that, and then keep pushing it out and really hustle. But could be definitely, I think like nerd audiences are, I think, really cool, a cool target audience. Remember there's this one musician, but I'm sorry, I totally have no idea what his name was. That was pretty big on Twitter, especially amongst nerds, because his lyrics are just very funny and about dinosaurs or comic figures and stuff like that.
I know who you're talking about, and I can't think of his name right now either. I was about to say, this is his name, and it's just right there on my tongue.
See, you know him too.
Yeah, he's so good. He's so good. He's anonymous.
But I honestly think that there are enough topics only in JavaScript land that can give you this like I don't know, like be like your muse. Like if I look at only things in React land right now, like whenever there is like a big announcement from the React team, you can make a song out of that. Like I can just like hooks,
we could make a nested loop song just with talks about that
setup.
Yeah,
I think you're right, and I think especially if you focus on the lyrics. So maybe Kahlil more in your category of like rapping. I think if you had, and I've joked around with Adam about this because I'm a terrible rapper, but I joke about being like a programmer rapper. Like I come up with ridiculous things that aren't good. But if you're actually skilled at such things and you could apply that into a space where there's really nobody creating musical culture for us, like to us and for us and by us, so to speak. There's just tons of stuff that you could do in the rap game around these things, which I think would resonate with a lot of people. Or maybe that's easier than coming up with brand new music all the time, just a little rap, maybe even just sample the music and come up with lyrics.
Just jump on some beats. You can get some instrumentals from iTunes or whatever, and then just jump on that. But of course, I mean, writing those lyrics, is definitely some effort to go into.
Of course. I'm not looking for a get rich quick plan here. I'm just thinking about. I just feel like we're coming to a point with a critical mass. I mean, Robert Tables in our chat has been talking about how do you even keep up with the JavaScript community, let alone the technologies. The technologies are far-reaching and fast-moving, but the community is everywhere. And Suz, I mean, you're out there in the community all the time, and you can't be on the podcast because you're always at a conference. So there's just so much going on, right? That I feel like we're a growing group.
Yeah, I actually now know what we actually need. So every time the TC39 comes together and meets, we need to have some kind of rap song musical summary of exactly what went down. So if someone could take the minutes of the meeting and actually turn that into a song, we could be all caught up in like 3.5 minutes.
I think we're onto something here. So this loop drop tool is cool. I got that in the show notes as well, loopjs.com. Suz and I are not in this space creatively very much. So we wondered if you guys have knowledge of or can point people towards tooling in the web technologies or in the JavaScript space beyond the ones you've mentioned already, that people can use to create either generative music or, this kind of thing. What kind of tools are out there, or what's missing in the community where folks can go out there and make music?
I think for a lot of people, it's missing the basics of what music making means. And that I include myself in that group as well, because I don't have a musical background per se, but there are some amazing web-based tools to learn how to make music and then also to get into making that yourself. So Ableton, who is the producer of one of the biggest production music production softwares in the world, and they have this website called learningmusic.ableton.com, and it's a web audio app that pretty much teaches you everything you need to know to get started in making music, and like how does music fundamentally work? Like how does the timing work? What are different genres, and how do I make a nice drum line, and like all these things. And then you can go one step further and look into like, okay, the web audio API is out there, and how does it work? And there's the Web Audio School is a great tool. It's written by Matt McCack, and it's an amazing tutorial of getting like that shows you how to get into audio programming, because it's a very different field from our like general web development, and I think that's the first hurdle for most people.
Do you know also if there were any communities that people could try and get in touch with, like whether there's almost like a demo scene for live music production or anything like that? Because this whole thing just reminds me of the computer demo scene, but it's music. But I really don't know anything about this stuff.
Yeah, definitely. There's the Web Audio Slack. I think it's webaudio.slackin.herokuapp.com, and that's like the implementers of the Web Audio API do hang out there as well. So like you just want to get into working like with the Web Audio API, like you can ask all your questions there, and you might get like the Hong Chan from the Chrome team like answering your very beginner question, and they're happy to do that there. I think that's the perfect place. There are like a lot of people there that work in like production websites that use web audio or are performers.
Very cool.
Awesome stuff, guys. Thanks so much. That all links will be in the show notes. Any final parting thoughts? Suz, any more questions for you? I'd love to know what the future of nested loops is. That would be my last question. But beyond that, any other final words for us and for our audience?
Yeah, I really want to know if you are coming back for JSConf EU next year? Because I saw that the CFP was open.
Well, there are conversations going on.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. Yeah.
You heard it first on JS Party. There are conversations.
There are conversations. Well, let me also add, if you guys ever want to debut a new track, you have JS Party as a launch pad for your new music. If you like to debut anytime, come back, play some brand new music on JS Party. We would absolutely love that.
Well, maybe we should actually use snippets from podcast episodes in that case.
Ooh, now you're talking our language. We've got some great stuff for you.
Well, if you can do some pre-filtering for us, that would be very helpful.
Oh yeah, that would be great.
Maybe we can do something.
So do some samples, and then that way you don't have to watch hours of video. Yeah, that makes sense.
We
or
don't
podcasts, yeah.
Yeah, listen to like hundreds of years of podcasts.
We have some very funny outtakes that we've already filtered out, so we might actually be a bit ahead.
That's cool.
All right. So coming to headphones near you, potentially, there's conversations about a potential JS Party nested loops collaboration. Stay tuned for that. That's super exciting. Also, if you enjoyed this episode, go back and listen to the conversation I had with Faraz a couple weeks back, all about Bit MIDI, which is another really cool music-focused web-based JavaScript application, and all the nitty-gritty on that. That was a fun one. So go back to listen to that. And that's our show for today. Thanks so much for the Nested Loops gang being here. And hey, you never know, you might be hearing them again soon. We'll see y'all next week.
All right, thank you for tuning in to JS Party this week. Tune in live on Thursdays at 1 p.m. U.S. Eastern at changelog.com/live. Join the community and Slack with us in real time during the shows. Head to changelog.com/community. And do us a favor, share this show with a friend, rate us on Apple Podcast, go into Overcast and favorite it. And thank you to Fastly, our bandwidth partner. Head to fastly.com to learn more. And we move fast to fix things around here at Changelog because of Rollbar. Check them out at rollbar.com. We're hosted on Linode Cloud servers. Head to linode.com/changelog. Check them out and support this show. Our music is produced by Breakmaster Cylinder. And you can find more shows just like this at changelog.com. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
I'm Tim Smith, and my show Away from Keyboard explores the human side of creative work. You'll hear stories sometimes deeply personal about the triumphs and struggles of doing what you love.
I got really depressed last year, and the reason it was so hard is because basically everything culminated at once. All these things I'd been avoiding, all these things I'd swept under the rug, they all came out at once.
New episodes premiere every other Wednesday. Find the show at changelog.com/AFK or wherever you listen to podcasts.